we'll drink it if there was a supplement that had it. What's up, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of The Unusual Suspects. Guys, we have a banger lined up for you guys today. Before we get to our guests, I'm going to go around and introduce some of our regular unusuals. Rob Gargiulo is here. He's actually wearing pants for the first time in 6 months. The other ones were painted on. Brandon Acito's in the house, chilling. Connor has been writing his ass all day, and he's here. And, guys, so let me talk. Before I get into our guests, so me and Rob saw a video of a guy getting kicked out of a Brevard County commissioners meeting for trying to reopen an investigation into the Challenger shuttle explosion. So for you guys that don't know, the Challenger, a lot of people don't know because you guys are too freaking young, on January 28th, 1986, at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, we launched a NASA shuttle, and 7 astronauts perished. It came down. I watched it live. We were all in school.
Allegedly, they perished.
Allegedly, yeah, exactly. So our guest believes that the astronauts that were on board are still alive. He's here with us today. We want to find out who, what, where, why, how. His organization is called, you work for the organization, We Are Change, which is driven by passion for truth and justice. Justin Harvey. Justin, thanks for being here, brother.
Thank you so much for having me.
Justin, these are the type of topics that our unusuals want to hear. When Rob was like, dude, Justin's on, I go, I cannot wait because the questions are going to come. So, Justin, before we get into it, I want to know where you're at in the conspiratorial space. Me and Rob talked about this before. So before we go, I'm going to say some events, and you pick which one where you're at, okay?
Okay.
9/11, terrorists or inside job?
Inside job.
JFK, Oswald or CIA?
CIA, it's actually proven in declassified documents.
Bingo!
Right,
Moon
2 for
landing.
2.
Yeah, 2 for 2. Moon landing, real or fake?
Fake.
Is there,
3.
guys, I want this guy to be my roommate. Is the Earth round or flat?
That's a tricky one, but there's no evidence to support the claim that we live on a spinning ball.
I love it. All right, aliens, real or fake?
The hardest one to prove. I think most of them are probably the government trying to trick us, but they may exist. Hard to prove.
Ooh, okay. All right, guys. Okay, listen. Now that we have that solidified, guys, before we move on, well, first of all, the stories for today, and I'm sorry, guys, because I had them texting me, so I'm going to read them. Some of the stories, if we get into them, mind you, are going to be the Germany migrants. They sexually assaulted this girl, 11 of them, and you guys will be surprised what happened to her. Not the ones that did the actual assaulting, somebody that talked shit about the assaulters. We're going to talk about Hunter Biden's Russia fake news.
Well, yes, the laptop. It turns out that 4 of the 51 intelligence officers that signed off on the letter stating that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation were actually paid contractors with the CIA at the time that they signed the letter. Including the guy who organized the letter, Michael Morrell, that piece of shit.
Yeah.
We'll talk about you later.
Amen.
Sorry.
There goes the 8-minute cussing. Brandon's going to talk about General Patton, and then Connor's going to talk about our boy Jamal Bowman, who he's out of there. But before we continue, hey, everybody, guys, do me a favor, 60%. And look at me. I appreciate every single one of you more than you know. But 60% of you that are watching the show haven't subscribed. If you guys can, please just take a second, like, subscribe. We need the support, guys. Like, we want to keep doing this show, and it got to keep growing, or else guess what? We're going to be the unemployed unusual suspects. All right, that being said, so Justin, just really quick, bro, can you please just take a minute? Tell us a little bit about your, like who you are, about yourself, and how and why this issue became so important to you.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Orlando, Florida. For the first 25 years of my life, things were pretty standard. Went to school, got a job, went to college. And then at 25, my uncle sent me a video, ironically, one of PBD's previous guests, Stephen Greer.
Got you.
Sent me down a rabbit hole of aliens and free energy technology, 9/11, genetically modified foods, all these things. I was pissed. I didn't know any of this information. I went literally from 0 to 100. I didn't know the difference between a Republican and a Democrat. Didn't know about any of these conspiracies, as they were dubbed. Once I found out how badly we were being lied to, our food is poison, our medicine, we're lied to about the reasons we go to war, possibly going to space, which I didn't find right away. I was upset and basically said, I think I've actually heard you mention it recently. I couldn't sleep at night without telling people. Like, why don't we have more whistleblowers?
Yeah.
And I'm not even a whistleblower.
Yeah.
But I've found this information that we're readily able to see on the internet now with the age of the internet. So I found We Are Change, which is a nonpartisan, independent journalist and activist organization. Found people that were being their own media. And I'm like, well, why are we lied to about all these things? How did we get fooled? It's because we don't have an honest media. So I saw people being their own media, being, independent journalists like Luke Rudowski, inspired me to get involved with that. I started hosting protests, the March Against Monsanto, educating people about genetically modified foods, toxic Roundup pesticides they spray over everything we eat, educating people to vote with their dollar, eat healthy. That just evolved from big food into big pharma. I was advocating against, water fluoridation, these 5G towers they're putting in all our smart cities. It was affecting our health or our freedom. I was kind of making noise about it. So I was organizing protests, speaking at city council meetings, and confronting people that I thought were lying, like Peter Hotez, Joe Biden, all these people that you've seen me on tape kind of question. I wanted to hold their feet to the fire.
Good.
So
and just really fast. So your mom and dad were how involved politically were they? Where'd you get this?
I didn't
trying to figure out where
really-
you got this fire from, because I mean, dude, it doesn't happen. I mean, they're few and far between.
Yeah.
Of people that actually care, and I respect people that. A lot of people do this, but to go there and go to these meetings and go and open your mouth and be known. I mean, some people talk crap from behind the scenes, but to go out there and put
Right.
yourself out there, I'm just curious, where'd you think that you got that?
Well, that's interesting. My dad actually does quite a bit of public speaking himself. So he's a very good networker, personable person, can talk to people. I think I got a little bit of that from him, but they definitely weren't really interested in any of these things. I didn't grow up with much religion or politics in my home at all. So I was just kind of raw and thrusted into it. And I said, I wasn't even able to pick a side. I was like, it's all corrupt. I'm politically homeless. I don't even like any of this. Everything seems like it's been upside down for so long.
Okay. All right. So let's get right into this. I said this earlier. So January 28th, I was 8 years old, 1986, at 11:39 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. They launched from the Kennedy Space Center, Florida. What was it? Were they going anywhere, Justin, or was it just like hey, we're going out of space, we're going to dance around? And
I think they were going up to launch satellites or something like that
okay.
out of to the ISS or something like that.
Got you. Yeah, and the ISS, what was it like? They get like $3 billion a year on the ISS. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous, bro. But anyway, we'll get into that. So the crew members that were on, there were 7, correct? Francis R. Scobie, Michael J. Smith, Ronald McNair, Ellison Onizuka, Judith Resnick, Gregory Jarvis, and then the teacher, Krista McAuliffe. Dude, I can't believe that name. All these years later, and I know, and I remember her name. But what's let me see, Ryan. Let me write something. Where is that one?
Yeah,
Okay,
so they were, by the way, they were on their way. They were scheduled to deploy a communication satellite.
There you go.
That would study Halley's Comet while they were in orbit, in addition to taking Krista McAuliffe into outer space, making it the first teacher in space for the Teacher in Space program.
Okay, so and then I'm gonna come to what's up?
It's a nice use of tax dollars.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
exactly. So her and the teacher, because by the way, nobody it was just because we were in school, they were pushing this teacher, all the teachers in the classroom. They were wheeling in TVs with what's it called, Rob? With VHS.
Yep.
Play. By the way, I'm the only one here that was alive during that, right?
Yes, because I remember them doing it. They did that for us in 4th grade when it was the O.J. Simpson trial was coming down, because it was the first time that a story had dominated every news channel for my generation. But your generation, a little bit older, was that. The generation after me, which I was still weirdly a part of, I was 14, was 9/11. 9/11 became the next, where it was every TV in the school, I remember, was on with 9/11 coverage every day for that week. And this was the same thing when it came to the Challenger explosion and the O.J. Simpson trial.
Yeah, it's weird, huh? Like 2 moments, TVs, everybody watch this.
Yes.
And before I go to you, Justin, so the teacher, Krista McCullough, she was a high school teacher from Conrad, New Hampshire, selected for NASA's Teacher in Space program. She had a master's degree in education. She was passionate about teaching. Was she an astronaut? Well, they just suit her up and say you're going into outer space.
Yeah, they really didn't give her a whole lot of training. I
Holy
mean,
shit,
they
bro.
did, but it was just, show her some things and they threw her up there.
It was like a nationwide search. If I remember correctly, it was like a
Yep.
nationwide search for them to find like schools could nominate a teacher to go to space, and the students could nominate a teacher to go to space. And so she won the nationwide contest. They did astronaut training, which I thought took a lot longer than apparently it does. And then they sent her up into space, and it blew up.
Well, that's that's, I think, what's so interesting about it is your point is how they glued everyone to it, and everyone felt connected. One of my closest friends said my teacher almost was a finalist. There was like 11,000 teacher finalists that almost went. So everybody and their mother was like, my teacher was almost on that shuttle.
Invested.
And by showing her training and having her going to teach a class from the space shuttle, had all the children and teachers gather around that TV, the entire country was looking at it. It was even worse than 9/11 because that was a surprise.
Yeah.
But this one was like they gathered everyone around and made them watch it. And I think that's got something to do with why this was a lie.
So okay, let's get into that. So all right, so Justin, they set this up. They have this teacher. They have everybody else. They have the others. 6 guys. The Francis, Ronald, Michael, everybody, Ellison. So it launches, and I like you want to. Should I let you break this all down because I know you have the pictures of. What you're saying is this thing launched and none of them were on it?
Correct, because that's good to clarify. A lot of people say, well, I watched it. You're crazy. It wasn't fake. I'm not saying the launch was fake. The explosion was real. I'm saying it exploded empty, potentially.
Yes.
I also want to reiterate that I'm not 100% sure that this is all true. Okay. When you see in my speech, in my meeting, I go in there as a concerned citizen basically asking questions. This is unexplainable, in my opinion, and I think it's worth bringing light to.
Okay.
So as
yeah, please go into it.
In a previous NASA speech, I was shut down by NASA. So I felt, what's my recourse? Let's go to the county that this happened in. So I went in and brought this poster, and I focused on 3 astronauts. And these are the 3 that have exact doppelgangers with the exact same names. And I think that's the real kicker here, because we can all find someone that looks like us. I can find someone that looks like me somewhere.
God,
but for him,
someone that looks like me, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize to my doppelganger, but they are. If you look at
can you go back to that? Can you go back to that, Omerto?
One, if you can pull that up, even look at the teeth when you look at Dick Scobie. So, assuming that these images have not been altered, if you look at the teeth,
they look pretty close.
On the right-hand side, there's that weird little gap. It's in the same exact spot.
Yeah, so
that's crazy to me.
Scobie's got a distinct cheek line on each side. One of his eyes is actually more open than the other. His hair kind of waviness. It's very similar. And to have him with the same name, I'll never run into somebody with my exact same name that looks
like you.
images
No,
me.
the odds. I don't think the odds are.
So I looked it up and I tried. I found one case from 1900 something where a prisoner found a guy with the same name, same exact face, and they introduced fingerprinting. I mean, it was a big deal. So to think that this happened and no one ever covered it, no one ever's I look like that supposed dead astronaut. Nothing. It's just complete silence. And Dick Scobie made a website with a rocket blasting off with a cow strapped to it. So you mean to tell me the guy that looks just like you with the same age, same name, same facial features also opened a company and his company website has a rocket strapped to a cow, leaving a smoke trail with a spiral just like the Challenger?
So let me ask you a question, Justin. So okay, they come up with this elaborate thing. They lie to everybody. What's the purpose of lying to everybody and faking these people's deaths? What's the goal from all that?
Great question. And before, just a quick disclaimer, I also don't claim to know how exactly or why exactly or even who exactly did it. But when you walk into a crime scene and there's a homicide, there's people dead there, the evidence is clear, right? You can't walk in and say, well, I don't understand how or why they did this. This is a conspiracy theory, right? I'm not saying you're doing that.
Yeah.
But just to be clear, we don't know, and it will be pure speculation. But with that said, I'll speculate that I believe they may have done it to make space travel seem dangerous and impossible, because I don't think they can get very high. I think that's why we didn't go to the moon. I think that's why a lot of the pictures from outer space of Earth are faked and created in Photoshop. They can't get very high. And I don't know if they told these guys a week ahead of time, a year ahead of time, the day before, but somewhere along the line, they either forced them to lie. If you see Neil, Buzz, and Michael get back from the moon landing, they look like they just got a life sentence. They look like men forced to lie, in my opinion. Maybe these people knew a lot longer. But I think in 1986, they never imagined the internet coming about, because they let 3 of them keep their exact same names. So let's assume maybe they said, hey, we're going to do this. This is really going to suck, but we got to do it this way. And they were like, I want to still live a public life. I still want to keep my same name. So they said, well, who's going to find them, right? It's 1986. And they may have let them do that. I don't know. And also you could point at it and say, oh, look, that blew up. We can't do that anymore. Or, oh, that blew up and we need more funding. So there's a couple different reasons. But I think it's to make space travel seem dangerous and impossible. It also built a very impenetrable barrier around NASA. Like the boomer generation, you can't question NASA. How dare you? Those heroes died for this country. And the children didn't want to be an astronaut anymore because it was scary. So it had a lot of effects. I don't know if it were the intended effects, but those could be the reasons why.
What are you going to say, Rob?
Well, so what do you believe was on this shuttle that went up into and exploded? Were there people on there at all, or was it a remote detonation?
Based on how many appear to be alive, I would assume that it was completely empty. I mean, I don't think they killed 3 of them and let 3 live.
Okay, so where are the other? So I know So according to the reports, there were 7.
Right.
Right. But then on the graphic, Humberto, could you pull the graphic back up and go to the one? Let me show if we could pull the graphic back up.
Yeah, and some people claim there's 6 of 7 have been found. I really only focus on 3. I don't feel as strongly about the other 3.
So nobody knows where the 7th was.
The 7th is a complete mystery. No one even
would be
claims.
the 7th?
Gregory Jarvis.
Gregory. All right. So out of the 7, they have located possibly 6 who have just been given new identities.
Correct.
Sometimes new names. Sometimes they got lazy.
2 of them
didn't. But look, okay. Remember after 9/11, they found a passport
of Muhammad Atta.
That was the proof that 9/11 happened. Was a passport survived the explosion of the plane. So no humans, no plane parts.
There was no pieces of bone, nothing.
But a piece of what? Oh, okay. Well,
That's him.
But so the government, I don't know who could be orchestrating this, but whoever it is, it seems like they get lazy on certain details. Oh yeah, we found a passport in the streets of New York City. Yeah. Oh yeah, we don't need to change all of their names. That would take a lot of work. We'll just go with Michael.
Right. Yeah. And that's a lot of people's counter argument is, oh, you think they were dumb enough to not change their names? Well, they were smart enough to go in and give them overlapping life history. You look up both Judith Resnick's, and it appears that she was writing papers for Yale while the other Judith was an astronaut, but only for a couple years. Mm-hmm. But if you're in a CIA witness protection deal, why aren't they going to cover their tracks a little bit? They say, look, we're going to give you a different name, but if anybody looks up the other one, it's going to show that they were living here and working here. Boom, you're covered.
Wow. So, because I remember vividly watching it go up, and then the camera, so it's going up, and then, are we going to play it today at some point? The explosion?
I don't know if I have the actual, but
we do.
We do.
A few slides over.
Can we, as by the way, Humberto's in the back, everybody. Humberto, Kelly won the lottery, so she's not going to be with us today. She'll be back tomorrow. But, guys, so if you guys want, how long is this, Humberto? 70-some seconds?
4 minutes.
Oh, no, get to the, I think it's 70... get it right. Get it right when it launches. It explodes at 73 seconds.
Because of the O-ring, right?
Yeah, it was the O-ring. Yeah, go ahead. Play this.
Cleared the tower.
Wow, I remember this, bro.
Roger, Challenger.
And there's a emergency chute that they can exit, like a slide that takes them to a perfectly safe, like, bunker room.
Oh, shit.
So they can get on that right before they...
Oh.
So in your opinion, is this remote controlled technology right now is what we're watching?
Launching, right?
Because there's nobody on it. They're just...
Well, I don't think they're really... Are they controlling it? And then watch this. He goes, power up or something?
It is weird that they zoom in right as the explosion happens.
And listen,
right?
listen what he says about?
Yeah, as soon as he tells them to throttle up,
Throttle up.
it goes.
Shortly.
Now watch when they zoom in.
Engines at 65%. 3 engines running normally. 3 good fuel cells. 3 good APUs.
I think they could have a remote.
That's what they say
Velocity
about
2,257 feet per second. Altitude 4.3 nautical miles.
Right, if the
Downrange
planes were
distance
most
3
likely
nautical miles.
remote controlled.
Dude, I was 8 years old watching this, bro, and you guys are watching it in your 20s.
Almost every
Space
professional
mission
American
is now on the way after more delays than NASA cares to count. This morning, it looked as though they
CNN.
were
Oh, watch.
Now they
The
switch
fire.
to zoom,
Boom.
and boom.
Wow.
1 minute 15 seconds.
Look.
Velocity 2,900 feet per second. Altitude 9 nautical miles.
So, by the way, those are
Downrange
the,
distance 7 nautical miles.
so just let you guys know, people are cheering and going crazy right now because they have, look at the solid boosters.
You have no idea. And now you realize, oh, wait, that doesn't look right. I've never seen a
Yeah.
shuttle go up like
So,
that.
yeah. And by the way, do they show the parent? Because mind you, I remember.
Yes.
Watch,
Yeah.
they'll shoot. Yeah, they will, because I'm pretty sure it's the same.
Humberto,
footage
can you
of the-
forward a little bit? Can you forward? Because it might take a while to get to the parents. Keep going. Keep going. Oh, yeah, they're not going to show. All right. So guys, so this happens, and then the camera cuts. The mom and dad of the teacher are there. And they're, by the way, when that thing blew up, people were cheering like it was a part of like a show or like, this is supposed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then reality started sinking in. And the parents are looking up, and the mom, they're both in shock, and then they start crying. So that's actually another question. Those are her actual parents, right? What do they know about the situation? Or, you know what I mean? Is it like, hey, listen, you guys have to act? I mean, that's kind of hard to be like, hey, mom and dad, pretend that I died live.
But that's what they do with the CIA. I mean, when they put people in witness protection, if you believe what you see in the movies, they tell you, You're never going to see your family again. You can't call them. You can't speak to them. If you jeopardize being in the witness protection program, we'll kick you out. And now, whatever mobster you pissed off in whatever movie we're in, they're going to come and slaughter your whole family. So do they make those same threats to these astronauts? Hey, we're going to give you a presumed identity, but you can't ever contact the people who you have relationships with. Nobody can know who you really are. Otherwise, you blow this whole scheme. And if you do that, we'll just murder your whole family.
Yeah, and you've got a good point. It's like they've got them to a point where money, threats of prison, non-disclosure agreements, threats of death potentially are keeping these people in check. Now, you bring up McAuliffe's parents, which if you watch this film, it's not on this clip, but if you check out this film Level with Me by Hibbler Productions, he shows the unedited version of CNN panning over to McAuliffe's parents.
Oh.
And before they show them sort of kind of looking a little concerned, McAuliffe's dad is snickering, and he's smiling. Now, I don't know what to make of it, but while you see other people going like this, he's standing there going, and like kind of saying something to his wife, and he's got a bit of a grin on his face. Now, if my daughter just blew up, I'm not doing anything close to a grin. I'm probably sinking, I'm probably fainting, I'm probably collapsing, and he just kind of smiles and kind of says something to her, and then she kind of puts her head into his chest. And then a few minutes later, they show us the edited clips where they're looking distraught. It looked a little bit like Duper's Delight to me, personally.
But I understand that angle of the somebody else will be like, bro, they just lost their child. Nobody knows how to really act. I mean, when I lost my dad, everybody was crying except me. I was kind of joking. It was because I was there when my dad took his last breath. We walked in as he was like, the doctors were walking out and he was taking his, like, I actually was there to hear that last breath. It was weird. It's such a weird moment where you're not believing it, and then everything's a movie. Like nothing's real. Like you're looking at, like you're seeing with the eyes for the first time. And I don't want to say I was laughing, but I was trying to make light of the situation because everybody else lost their mind. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because, well, I mean, people, it's very odd that you say that. People grieve and have different reactions to grief in different ways. Some of us laugh, some of us cry, some of us fuck our dead brothers' widows. That's just how people grieve.
AKA Hunter Biden.
That's just how certain people grieve.
Wow.
But yes, I do, like it is. Yes, because when you look at the Sandy Hook videos, there's people say that some of the fathers are crisis actors.
He was laughing,
but you don't know how people are going to react in that capacity. I'm more interested in, okay, imagine the scale that it would take for this cover up to actually exist.
Yeah.
Is this I would think that this is bigger than the moon landing cover up, right? It's 30. What year did we land on the moon? 69?
Between 68 and 72.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is 14 years later. I would think that NASA, when we start investing more money into these programs, we start building, right? So like NASA, I would think that over time, look at Valuetainment. When I started, there were 14, 15 employees. We're now over 100. Yeah. The company has rapidly expanded. So did NASA in the 60s, 70s, and 80s because of the space race. So I would think a cover-up of this scale would have to be bigger than any other cover-up in human history to that point, just because of the sheer amount of people that would have to be in on it. So speculate. How?
Yes.
How do they keep this covered up so that other people either the family members aren't coming out and saying anything, and uncle doesn't get drunk at a bar and says, Krista McAuliffe, she's totally alive. She's Sue Baker in Arizona. How do they prevent any of that from actually coming out?
That's a great question. And that part is what bothers me the most, because I have a hard time wrapping my head around that. But then I go back to the evidence, and I'm like, we still got a big problem here. But to go back and speculate, I think it's so incredibly compartmentalized at NASA that everyone is on a need-to-know basis. And I mean levels upon levels of levels, to where you have people that even sitting presidents and sitting CIA directors aren't privy to some of this information. And it sounds crazy to think some guy on the internet found a YouTube video and knows more about CIA director, but he's so kept in a need-to-know. I think Bart Sabrell, who PBD had on, talked about how one of the CIA directors was told that he was like, I wasn't even allowed to ask about the alien thing. I wasn't even allowed to be told about it. Who's above them? So you've got a situation where 1,000 companies get contracted to make a couple parts for a rocket. So everybody's uncle had worked on the Apollo lander, right? Because NASA's contracts all these people out, and no one knows where that rocket really goes. No one knows if that thing really went to space or just shot out in the ocean and was retrieved. So it's I think there's hardly anyone in on it, is the answer to your question. And it's the only way it works, because you're right, people would blow the lid. I still have a hard time with the families. But, I mean, if some black suits and SUVs pull up and offer you $4 million or life in prison, you're probably going to pick the $4 million.
Yeah, and a couple of things. One, and just going off of the astronauts, was it Buzz Aldrin? And I'm gonna come to you, Connor. Thanks.
Oh, yeah.
Buzz Aldrin, and who was the other guy? Some guy was running up to them with the Bible saying,
That's Bart.
But that,
That's
it was
Bart,
Bart,
yeah.
and then he punched
he punched the guy in his face. And then here's the thing, and then Buzz, both of them, it's like, listen, if you did do, and mind you, that's a whole nother can of worms because you don't believe it. Now, I mean, with all the information, the technology that's coming out, it's seeming like we lied and we did it in the studio just to show Russia, like, hey, we were here first because it's the competition. Connor, what are you about to say?
So my question on this, I guess, is this is the first time I'm hearing anybody question the Challenger explosion.
Mm-hmm.
I have not actually come across that conspiracy despite all my time spent on the internet. I was born 11 years after the explosion.
Holy shit.
So this has only ever been taught to me as 100% historical fact. My dad told me the story when I was a little kid of him being in school, watching the shuttle go up, watching the explosion, seeing all the fallout of that over the coming weeks. But that was an established historical thing that took place. So this is all new information to me. I'm trying to take that in. But
thanks for making me seem way older now.
you're ancient,
because
Vinny.
now he's like my dad. So I'm your
My
dad.
dad
Paige.
was watching this.
Go to hell. Thanks a lot, asshole.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Connor. Go ahead. Sorry to cut you off.
But anyway, the back to the why you mentioned. You know, it could be for additional NASA funding. It could be for preventing people from wanting to go to space. Thinking about it long term, like looking at obviously we question the moon landing here periodically. That's one of Rob's big things. We've talked about that a lot. Bringing it into the modern era where you have SpaceX and all these other groups that, like, Elon Musk is saying he's sending rockets up to space. He's sending people up to the ISS. So does the ISS exist? Is it in space? Are we actively getting things into orbit now, or is that part of the same thing that's made up, do you think?
And before you answer, what's the ISS? So people
The International Space Station.
International Space Station, which has people. It's like a docking station satellite.
Yeah, there's supposed to be people up there right now. Apparently,
Are they stuck?
There's some that were
There's
stuck
some
there.
stuck, and they're saying Elon, like they're asking Elon, like, "Hey, can we get a send the rocket
our
up
Boeing
there?"
shuttle kind of crapped out on us.
Yeah, but Justin, and not to cut you because I wanted people that the younger people probably don't know.
Exactly.
But go ahead.
Yeah, so Elon is a tricky one, I will say. But to go to the ISS real quick, I do believe we're being lied to incredibly by a lot with the ISS. You've got a situation where we've got bubbles that have been viewed when they're doing spacewalks. They train in underwater pools. How come we're seeing the bubbles during the real thing?
Oh, wow.
You're showing us training videos and doctoring it. We've got astronauts that have drowned in space multiple times. It just happened the other day where water was leaking into something. Why are they drowning? Are they in space or are they underwater?
So an actual astronauts drowned in space?
Almost, yeah.
Oh,
They've had to
wow.
rescue them.
Wait,
And
so
they
but you're saying, okay,
Yeah.
you're saying why would they drown if they're in space? So they'd have to be in water. So are you saying that outer space is actually under the ocean?
No, I'm saying that they.
Okay, now don't laugh at me. I'm trying to follow along.
He's saying they record them in water, but then with CGI they can make them seem like they're.
It's
in
publicly
outer
known
spa-
that they train for spacewalks on a replica of the ISS
that all
in a
the time.
big pool in Houston.
Okay.
And we think that that's probably the only one. And that's where they film it all. And they say it's up in space. So it's supposed to be a space lab 250 miles up, flying at 17,500 miles per hour. Keep that in mind when they step out to do a spacewalk and they're like this. Yeah. But that's 17,000 miles per hour. That's another story. But we found too much evidence of them faking the footage of them inside and outside the ISS. Sometimes they're inside and they'll grab objects that aren't really there. It's like virtual reality. They're using special effects.
And I saw one that you had where the guy's pulling a string. You actually see him grab a string from behind the guy and move him forward. You closed in on the on your.
He yanks on what's like an invisible sort of harness. The microphone wire is actually going right in front of it.
I saw that.
So it may look like the mic wire sometimes, but they're yanking on things and they're being held in place by harnesses. And we believe that it's filmed. The interior is done in a studio and the exterior is done in the swimming pool. So again, the stories about the ISS, everything has to be cleared through NASA. I think Elon and SpaceX were sort of hey, we need to make it look like civilians are doing this. They've been claiming to put civilians in space for 50 years now. They still can't do it for some reason. I think they're sort of making it appear that other people are doing it, civilians, Elon, but I want to believe Elon is truly waking up and kind of fighting the system, but I can't wrap my head around the fact that he doesn't know that they're lying about going to the moon and where these rockets are going.
So and that goes to the point of are we living in a firmament? Are we in this bubble? Because I went down a rabbit hole because who do we have? here. The guy that I met at
the mechanic.
AutoZone, Causeway. What's up, bro?
Cashier at AutoZone.
He said, he was like, Vinny, he's like, every rocket that goes up hits this barrier, and they've been trying to break through this thing for eons. And he was like, that's the goal that we're trying to do, is that we live inside this firmament, and we're trying. And he's like, it says it in the Bible, it says it here. What do you think? Do you think
so? That's a hard one to prove too. You can only speculate about what the ceiling may be, if there is a ceiling. But that is a popular theory in the geocentric model, and that's not the globe model.
Yeah.
So like geocentric is like the flat world, and heliocentric is the globe world. It's really hard to say, but when those rockets go up and the one Elon shoot up, it looks like it's skipping across water. It's very weird.
I've seen it.
And I don't know what to make of that either, but people do think they're trying to sort of break through whatever barrier we have up there.
May I ask a question?
Yeah. And then Brandon, and I'll go to you, Brandon.
So you had mentioned, when I asked about the families and how you cover it up, you had mentioned the evidence when you look at the evidence. So back to the Challenger. What is the actual evidence outside of the photos that you have that proves that these people are the same people that we saw allegedly explode on the Challenger shuttle?
I think the only real evidence is the people existing with those names. Now, and
Well,
just
that's what I
for
was gonna
people,
say. Like that, like I mean, I'm with, like, I love conspiracies, and I'm with you on a whole lot of the space stuff being weird, but that's kind of like a weak amount of evidence to like say that this whole thing is faked. I mean, I think it's a massive embarrassment for the government with all the money they pour into NASA, and the last thing they would want is to be nationally embarrassed for something that they pour money into. And like, I heard that it was like a record cold day, and that this engineer was saying that like they shouldn't launch it that day, and that he felt bad for the rest of his life because NASA was trying to hit a quota that they had to hit. So I mean, I can't imagine why they would want something to blow up and want it to fail miserably when they're it's like a giant money laundering scheme where they're trying to get money and get national attention, get people interested in the education of going into space. So that's what I'm having a hard time with. What do you say to that?
yeah, I hear you. The thing, let me just cut back to the evidence real quick too, is a lot of people will say, well, what if those pictures were faked and people just planted these pictures of doppelgangers? 2 of them have been confronted on tape. We can watch those clips if you want. Having an exact doppelganger with the same name is pretty much statistically impossible, in my opinion. I think that is strong enough evidence for me to bring it up to my commissioners and to NASA to say, hey, this needs to be talked about. We need to start a larger conversation. You can't find a single instance of that happening in 120 years, but we have 3 people. Like, what if 3 of us found exact doppelgangers with the same names next week? That would be beyond.
Is that statistically improbable, though, or like you said in your opinion? But is that statistically improbable of 8 billion people to have identical doppelgangers with the same name? I mean, I don't know. I don't think that's something we can compute in our heads.
I agree, and I also thought once we crack this open, I'm pretty sure that someone would send me an example. And we've been a few weeks now. We've gone since this video, and no one has been able to provide a single instance of that. So I don't think
you've been on this thing for a few weeks. That's when you started talking?
Oh no, I've known about this issue for about 8 years now. But
the reason
the video has been out a few weeks.
So because here's the video. Here's the Brevard County Commissioners meeting. And
can we show that one?
Where
Is that
you're trying. So you're trying to actually get them to reopen the investigation into the Challenger explosion because the actual not the territory. What is the word I'm looking for? The actual jurisdiction is Brevard County, where the shuttle exploded above. So you went to them asking them to reopen an investigation into the case. What would if that investigation opens up, what are you hoping to achieve? And B, is there any other are there any other organizations or what are there any other steps to go to? Because you got denied by NASA, you got denied by Brevard County. What's the next step in this investigation?
Well, I'm specifically actually asking Brevard to ask the federal government to investigate.
Okay.
So it's kind of like, hey, you guys stand with me. Let's have a press conference. Let's make a statement, pass a resolution, something, just to get the conversation started. And at the end of the day, I don't think those commissioners are ever going to listen to me, and I don't think NASA's ever going to open an investigation. But if they won't, and you get a video to get hundreds of millions of views, and you get a national conversation started, mission accomplished. I just want the public mass awareness. If this is true, and they lied about it, people deserve to know. They traumatized millions of people, children, on making them watch that on live television. And if that's truly fake, people deserve to know.
And is this the then Brandon? I'll go to you. What is this the one where you get kicked out?
Yeah, this is it.
Can we show this one real quick, and then I'll go to Brandon?
It's about 5 minutes.
Oh, but
this
where do you?
Short. This is
you just getting kicked out.
Your attention to potential fraud on an enormous
Oh, actually, this
scale
is the
happening
other
in
one.
York
This is
County. There's now clear
ISS.
evidence
Okay.
of NASA using numerous methods to
Oh, this is
grossly
not the right
mislead
one.
the
Never
public.
mind.
Oh no, not this one. Not this
Sorry,
one.
it's okay. Never mind. So the other one, okay, you're right. It was a 5-minute clip, and then at the end, as soon as you start to bring it up and ask them, "Is that it?"
Yeah, this is it.
Yeah, can you play the ending of this?
If you cut to where like we're getting kicked out,
Keep going.
yeah. So this is where the guy's yelling at me.
Oh.
Do you want to watch that part?
Yeah, let's watch this part right here.
Yeah, cut to like the middle.
Yeah, right. Let's go right there.
Right there's good.
Yes, you.
I don't want to hear it from you
Just
people
because
down
this
here.
is just because this is an uncomfortable
Stop.
topic.
Officers, please remove this man from the room.
You just violated the First Amendment.
I didn't violate the First
No,
Amendment.
he
He
didn't.
violated the
This
rules.
is a limited public forum, and the meeting is for the purpose of the business of the county commission. It's
What a
not
nerd.
for the
So they're
Nerd.
kicking me.
They're kicking you out. What did you say that was so bad?
They stopped me midway and are claiming this is not their
just
jurisdiction. But the
everyone
truth of the matter is, the old
taking me
boomer
forward.
up there, Mr. Chairman, is just so triggered by the topic. He said, "Get the him out of here."
Oh wow, he doesn't want. Yeah, he
He
doesn't.
just doesn't want to hear
narrative.
it. Yeah.
Oh, that's.
And then he tells me to go to a behavioral center afterwards to seek mental help.
That thinks you're crazy. Well, dude,
Yeah.
some people listen. People don't. People want to believe. Well, if they've been, if it's the set in stone, that's what they believe. Anybody that so like, if you tell people like, hey, January 6th kind of wasn't what you thought it was. Nobody had guns, and people are like, are you crazy? They killed 10 cops. No, they didn't. No cops were killed.
And I told you, I think
You can stop the. You can stop the video.
99.9% of people who hear this are going to think it's batshit crazy.
For sure.
I'm the 0.1% that I'm like, all right, I'll entertain this.
Yeah,
and it is interesting the way that they shut it down. The doppelgangers are interesting. Is it enough evidence for me? No, but it is. Is it something to read? Would I put it past the federal government to put some type of propaganda on television in front of people day after day, week after week for years and build a lot? Yeah, of course.
It's called
I don't believe that
JFK
they would do it.
assassination.
Yeah,
We
they-
still-
Actually, Vinny, on the Kennedy assassination, I wanted to ask you this, Justin. When we talk about the Kennedy assassination, we've mentioned that there's almost a clock running out on this thing where with every passing year, more and more people involved in the Kennedy cover-up are dying until there will be nobody left. And basically all that's left over are the institutions that helped pull it off, but not the people. There's nobody left to be held accountable, nobody who was responsible, nobody who planned it. They're all dead.
JFK for sure.
Yeah, do you feel a similar countdown on this of like, this happened in the 80s. We are now in 2024. We are approaching a point where anybody who might have been directly involved in this is in their final years, potentially. Do you think we have a diminishing timeline on figuring this out, or is this one more open-ended?
I don't think we sort of have like a diminishing timeline because people are dying off. I think because of the internet, we can bring back something as old as the Titanic and talk about it and analyze what went down.
But hold on, but to play off that real quick. One thing we learned this week with Stephen Greer during the interview, and you talked about Stephen Greer earlier, maybe before the podcast started. Stephen Greer talks about how these whistleblowers are coming forward as they're getting older and dying off because they feel guilty of holding this knowledge. So maybe it's actually the opposite of what you're saying. The closer that these people are getting to death, the more these investigations might start to open up because these people have a guilty conscience and don't want to die with that on their conscience. And then you throw in the internet.
Did you hear about the guy who took the most famous shot of Earth from the moon, the Earthrise photo, which has a Photoshop box behind it? That man was 90-something and just died in a plane crash the other day.
Oh, really?
So it's like one of the guys who got one of the most famous shots of Earth just died flying by himself in a plane crash. I mean, it could have just been an accident, but it's kind of weird. What if that guy was starting to say, you know what? I'm going to blow it. I'm going to die soon. I'm going to blow it. And they got wind of that and we're like, take his plane down. I don't know.
If you're going to get national attention on this thing, though, you need something that's like much better than that. Like the 9/11, there's thermite traces in the debris in the ground. You know, that's a military-grade explosive. There's no reason why that should be there. And the Lusitania, it was blasted from inside out, so meaning that something blew up from the inside of it.
Passport.
You know?
The passport being in
stuff's-
pristine condition.
Yeah,
But how would
stuff's rock
how would I
solid.
even get evidence from something that happened in such a controlled area? You know, it wasn't in New York City. It was in a controlled military basically area that was before I was born. It's really hard. The only thing we really have to go off of are the doppelgangers.
To gain national attention, that's not even close to enough. I mean, like 9/11, there's a million things you could prove, like beyond a reasonable doubt, that are out of place, like the blasts coming from inside the building, the thermite. Like the people
holograms,
building number 7, Larry Silver.
the building just blowing up for no reason.
We can really get into it.
You know, like
knowledge.
that stuff is a hard time getting national attention. So I mean, I'm saying like if there is something to us, you need a lot more than just the doppelganger.
Or that seventh missing astronaut.
Yeah,
if
where's
you
that?
find him.
By the way,
Where's
do
he?
we have the doppelganger argument, people?
The what?
The doppelgangers, did they approach those guys?
Oh, yeah,
Sent
we
the
have
time
those clips.
codes to Kelly. I just don't know if
And she probably did. No, it's probably not there.
It's in that clip, and they're timestamped, the Michael J. Smith one and the Judith Rose.
Oh,
And what's this video? It's called Level With Me. So if people want to go and actually
Watch Level With
this
Me.
video themselves, they can go to Level With Me. And this is, what year did this come out? Last year?
This came out last year. Yep.
Okay, yeah, it's going to be too hard to look for it. But okay, yeah, I mean, and then for the people, who's this? Is this the girl?
Well, that was me actually questioning another astronaut at
Okay.
the time. But
Oh, that's okay. So what was the name of this?
Level
with me.
Yeah.
It's on YouTube. Okay. All right, perfect. Well, listen, I mean, look.
Wait, hold on. If the movie came out last year, how do they have you in the county commissioner meeting?
I've
Was
done
that
two
the
speeches.
Oh, that was the ISS one.
I did that
okay,
speech
sorry.
last year.
Cool.
yeah.
Well, so if people want to watch more, they can go watch that documentary. They can make a decision for
Right.
themselves. You're
Yeah.
a skeptic. You seem like you're
Well,
on
I'm
the
easy
fence.
as hell on this stuff normally, so like I mean,
No, but he's making a
And
great.
To your point, I want to mention like anyone out there that potentially has information about this or wants to be a whistleblower, help me get more evidence. All we have right now are the doppelgangers. I wish I had thermite or
Look
other.
at what Alex Jones goes through to find stuff, and he does like piles of research data. So it's hard work to uncover stuff, and
Yeah.
it seems like you want to be the pioneer of this thing and make a name for yourself that
No,
way.
not
So, like,
necessarily.
you have to vigorously look for stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the simple step would be finding out who the doppelgangers are. I mean, we already know the names of 3 of them. It's the same as the astronauts.
Right.
So these people exist. These people can be contacted. I'm sure in the documentary they talk.
Well, you also have to be very careful about contacting those people because if this is true, contacting them is a great risk. There's other events where people have been contacted, and one simple phone call got a guy put in jail and railroaded through court systems for
Stephen
years.
Greer says that he had 4 colleagues killed trying to cover up secret tech. That's
Yeah.
why the more that you hear these stories, the more you go, okay, maybe it is. Maybe there is something else than the official narrative of what we've been told. So
I mean, you never listen. If they could lie about murdering a sitting president of the United States, I don't put it past anybody. Brandon makes a very good point. I want to see a little bit more proof. I mean, it's elaborate. I get it, but I mean, trust me, and Rob, that's all we talk about. I don't even think I've asked him about his family in 2 years that I've known him. I just want to know about JFK, 9/11, and aliens.
and the thing is, the problem is, the further that we get from this, though, to the point, more people are dying off. Maybe they'll come forward, right? The bigger problem is that the further people get from this, the less they care.
The less they
we were talking
care.
about this earlier. If they came out tomorrow and said the CIA killed JFK, yes, there would be people like us that are outraged, but the majority of Americans are like, oh, yeah, that's cool. I saw a video on TikTok about that.
No,
and then they just keep on going.
What do you mean? They're going to be like, hot tour. Listen, that drives me. He makes a great point because with all that shit, with all the conspiracy, I don't say theories, there's conspiracies. They conspired against Trump and everything that's happening in World War III, Russia submarines. The number one talking thing right now is a white girl going, hot tour on that thing. That's where we're at, and I think that
Julian Assange was released on a plea agreement, and
Cut to
should
it.
be, let me go watch that video. Never
Yeah,
mind.
let me go
That's
watch it.
exactly
Well,
what happened.
you know what they say.
Disgraceful.
You know what they say. JFK was a big fan of the Hawk Tuah as well.
Oh,
so-
he was huge with Marilyn Monroe. He was
There's how it gets tied in
But,
right there.
And one more point, just to end on that. For anyone who doesn't think that they're necessarily willing or capable to do something like this, I just point everyone back to Operation Northwoods. That is a declassified document in the 1960s where the CIA brought it to JFK and said, we want to blow up an airliner of college students, either real or simulated, to stage something and go to war with Cuba. So if the 1960s, the intelligence community is planning out things to fake kill people, then we have right there, who knows what they've done in the last 40
And let's
years.
not forget Operation Paperclip, which was a secret United States intelligence program, which more than 1,600 German scientists, engineers, and technicians were taken from former Nazi Germany for the U.S. government employment at the end of World War II in Europe between 1945 and 1959 were members and leaders of the Nazi Party, but they worked for NASA.
And remember,
the dude, are you talking about the what was on his tombstone?
What was
no, go ahead.
Werner von Braun,
yeah.
was he the godfather of NASA? He had
NASA.
on his tombstone, it said that we live in a firmament.
He said that, like,
Yeah.
what are we talking
Like
about?
that's unexplainable.
Oh, you know what?
Was he a Nazi?
Yes.
Oh.
very
What's
much
his
so.
name?
Well,
His name?
Werner von Braun.
Warner Von. If there's a Von in there, you're Von racist
Yep.
as shit. All right, guys, moving on. Justin, thank you so much, brother. I want to know you guys' takes on this. So, well, guys.
Speaking of Germany.
Yeah, speaking of Germany, thanks, Connor. Guys, when I heard this story, I'm being dead serious. I had to rewrite it, fact check it, Snopes it, ask Rob. It's unbelievable. I don't know if you've heard this or not. So, a 14-year-old girl, she's walking in a park in Hamburg, Germany, when four guys come up to her. They I don't want to say the R word, but they rape her. I have to say, I'm going to say it one time and then that's it. They gang R-word it for a while.
2 hours.
For 2 hours.
Jeez.
They rob her wallet. They take her cell phone. And then after a while, 2 more soulless migrants show up and they her and they record it on their cell phones, all right? Then like a group of vultures, you know when vultures are around the cadaver and they want to summon and let their other boys know, they begin inviting other guys on a chat group, on a WhatsApp chat group, bro. Think about this, to come and that there was an isolated girl here that we could all her and keep coming. This is no joke, okay? Then finally she managed to run away and she ran up to a group. By the way, the rapists, shit, last time I'm going to say that word. They're chasing her. She gets up to like a couple people and they realize, oh my gosh, she's distraught. She's in bad shape. They call the authorities. A total of 11 men were initially charged. 2 were acquitted quickly because of the lack of DNA evidence. I'm pretty sure they were probably wearing condoms or they were actually being smart, which that's what people are saying. The sperm of 9 of the men, however, had been successfully removed from the girl's body. Mind you guys, 14 years old. Let that sink in, okay? This happened in the 2nd largest city in Germany, you know. But guess what? Of the 9 remaining suspects, none of them were native Germans. Sounds familiar, like what's happening in the United States. 5 of the men were in possession of German passports, while the remainder were not citizens. Among them, charged, none of them had German heritage. The were identified as Polish, Egyptian, Libyan, Kuwaiti, Iranian, Armenian, Afghan, Syrian, and Montenegrin. So
no Jamaicans. You're in the clear.
No Jamaicans.
With the exception of the Polish, what do all those groups have in common?
Let me go back. Can I read that again? Besides Polish, Egyptian, Libyan, Kuwaiti, Iranian, Armenians are Christians, Afghan, Syrian, Montenegrin.
Muslim.
They all sell rugs at Persian markets.
Exactly. So, yeah, a lot of them are Muslim, though.
I'm sure they're just there to sell spices and rugs.
Yeah, but
from
this is,
Far
I
East
mean, but
Asia.
that's a lot of people from a lot of different places. But anyway, so the lawyers of these migrants, guess what their arguments were in court? That these guys were operating on high testosterone. Like, that's an excuse for the R word.
Well, that is literally what they do all over Europe, is that they try to teach incoming classes of migrants that sexually assaulting women is wrong and that European women aren't property and they have to be courted. But these people stare at them blankly, just nothing going on behind their eyes, and they say, but we want to have sex with them.
Yeah, that's
like we want it.
Well,
so
that's what you get when you get unchecked mass migration coming into the country.
You are importing animals.
Yeah, basically like animals. And by the way, I haven't even gotten to the meat. Like, this is tragedy. Just wait. So 68-day trial, 96 witnesses, all of their semen found on this 14-year-old girl. And despite all that, being found guilty and convicted, 1 of these guys served prison time. I'm going to say that again. All convicted, all guilty, 1 of them, and it was a 19-year-old Iranian kid that received less than 2 years, 8 months of juvenile detention for the R word. All right, the rest were given probation and walked that day. And like I said, all that being said, Justin, this is the unbelievable part. This case caused people were going crazy in Germany, right? So for both, the brutality and for the lenient sentences of the migrants, as a result, one of the men had his identity and phone number circulated on Snapchat to a bunch of angry Germans, okay? One of them, a 20-year-old woman from Hamburg, messaged the number through WhatsApp, and the unnamed woman called this migrant a dishonorable pig, a disgusting miscarriage, and she added, "Aren't you ashamed when you look in the mirror?" Guess what happened? The targeted guy reported her to the police for insulting messages. She gets arrested and does 2 days in prison. So think about this. The guys that literally sexually assaulted and did what they did to this girl for hours, no prison time, they walk. Somebody that texts them naughty and bad, mean things got actual prison time.
Well, you said their information was circulated to a bunch of angry Germans, and this woman sent text messages.
Yeah.
They don't make angry Germans like they used to, man. when Germans got angry, it used to be catastrophic for the enther planet.
And now
it's text messages.
Now it's a text. And this woman has now been convicted and sentenced to a weekend in prison for remarks. So in court, by the way, this will drive me crazy. She had to show up in court and apologize, Brandon. She had to apologize for remarks saying she acted out of a reflex upon hearing the sickening details of the case. And by the way, she's not the only person that's facing conviction for assaulting these guys. Authorities have reportedly investigated 140 people for offenses related to the insulting threats and detriment towards these predators. So the woman now received more jail time than 8 of the 9 men convicted of the R word. So I just want to say this just really, really fast. Fuck every single one of you. Every one of you pieces of shit, because guess what? This ain't Germany. This is the United States. I hope you guys all, I'll pray for you, but God, I'm telling you right now, if you don't ask for genuine forgiveness, God is going to have his way with you, okay? Because think about it. They're all R-word pigs. I can't even say it. They deserve, by the way, try arresting me in Germany. And by the way, and since we're at it, fuck the German judicial system while we're at it. What kind of lunacy lets a 14-year-old girl get that happen to her for hours on end? They're texting their friends to come and do it. Everybody shows up. And the only person that does actual time, besides a 19-year-old in a juvie, is the girl that said mean things to the guy. But I saw you this whole time shaking your head. Like, what?
It sucks and it's horrible, but it is such a representation of how the Western world works, right? You expose the war crimes, you go to jail. Bush, Clinton, all walk free. Manning, Snowden, all on the run or in prison.
Assange, all these guys.
And it's like the same thing. It's like the real criminals run amok, but then the law-abiding citizen who knew gun law, now you're a criminal. These are the people who get in trouble.
Oh my! And it goes to the point. And it goes to the point, Connor, because I know this is one of the issues that you always talk about. This migration of these people from all these places. This is not brand new, Rob. This is happening, guys. And I'm gonna go to you, and then I'm gonna go to you, Connor. This is happening in the United States every other day. I'm seeing illegals raping. Oh, God, I'm so sorry. Underage women, strangling them, killing them. It's like, what are we, guys? It's happening, and I'm tired of people acting like it's not a problem. Brandon.
No, yeah, and this is why I speak about globalism, and that's the most evil, sick, twisted thing in the world, and the thing that we have to fight against most more than anything else, because that's what it is. It's a concerted effort to migrate people, foreigners, into other countries and dilute the culture and create chaos so they could, sweep us into this global world order and, turn chaos into an opportunity for them to consolidate power. So, I mean, this is why there's a populist movement sweeping Europe, and they're calling it far-right extremism, but no, like, it's insane. That's what the EU is trying to do. That's what the European Union has been trying to do by allowing mass migration, ease of transportation from country to countries. And now, I think 50% of them is Muslim now in each of those countries. So, they would call it or what is it?
Well, Islamophobic?
That or xenophobic or whatever. But no, you need to is a cleansing a strong word in the sense of getting people that aren't from your nation out of your nation.
Yeah, well, dude, I mean,
I've never heard cleansings have usually been bad.
I know, that's why. That's why I didn't say.
I would just say mass deportation.
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
Yeah,
but Brandon's right though, because by the way, there's absolutely no way you're gonna get rid of these people. Nobody is going to deport anybody because right now they're not doing it. In the moment, whoever wins, Trump, any Republican, you come in and you have one video or one photo of you grabbing one illegal, you're finished. Your whole thing is going to be kids in cages and all that shit. You already know that.
Yeah, well, just a while ago, a couple weeks back, Germany said we can't deport we can't deport the 80,000 immigrants that we know of that are here because it would take us up to 12 years. It would take them 12 years to move 80,000 people.
Yeah.
But you're talking about the German judicial system. Same one I reported a couple weeks ago just dropped possession of child porn to a misdemeanor with very minor jail time associated with it. So what we have is a liberal German government allowing outside influences to come in and degrade their culture and assault their women and children. Where have we seen that before, huh?
Yeah.
And then one day, for no reason at all, you know how the rest of that goes.
Yeah.
This has not gone well historically, but it's playing out all over Europe now, where it's happening in England, it's happening in France, it's happening in Italy, it's happening in Germany. Every place that used to be the core of Western culture is now under attack by, like Brandon said, the globalists, the third worldists who want all races and groups of people from the third world to immigrate to the first world so that we can find the virtue in being dragged down to that level.
Holy shit, they want us all slaves.
So they don't care when it happens. That is ultimately the reason. They like it.
Controlled demolition, essentially. That's what.
And then they want you to get mad and rebel, and then so they could justify arresting you.
Of course. Well, that's how you get martial laws when when all shit hits the fan, and they're like, "Oh, you guys can't control. Oh, you guys are all going nuts. That's it. We gotta, we gotta
need a
protect
populist movement across the entire West, though. I mean, they keep trying to vilify populism as this bad thing, but it's when the majority of people are fed up with the establishment and what they're doing to them. So that's what's happening in Europe, thankfully. So I mean,
yeah, but look at what cost. Like, they're finally getting fed up, but look what it takes.
Yeah.
And look at what Americans are finally getting fed up when you see the story of the 12-year-old girl that was raped by the 2 animal migrants.
Under a bridge?
They tied her arms behind her back and assaulted her for 2.5 hours
killed her.
before strangling her
And
to
then
death.
strangled her and then recorded it.
And then people go, oh, they're cultural enrichers. So you can't say the term illegal immigrant on MSNBC. We don't use that language.
Yeah,
we can't kick them out. Where would we get all our delicious food?
I know. If I
Where
hear that
would
one
we
more
get all
time-
our delicious foreign exotic dishes?
Yeah.
You know what? We have the recipes. The rest of you are going back.
Yeah, can you imagine, like, hey, guys, listen, yeah, your kids are getting sexually assaulted and killed, but
we got tacos.
Tacos are sweet. Taco Tuesday.
You ever have an empanada?
Guys, I'm not laughing at it, but that's such a effed up thing because that's the justification of that. It's like, and bro, if I hear one more, the Statue of Liberty says, give us your weaker. No. Guys, enough is enough. Yeah.
We'd sooner blow up the Statue of Liberty than allow a single American child to be molested by an immigrant.
I am pro. We are closed signs everywhere on this freaking border.
There are 2 stories that came out yesterday from 2 different news outlets. Border Patrol intercepts multiple illegal immigrant sex offenders in a single weekend. According to this, intercepted 7 previously convicted sex offenders, including those who were convicted of rape, aggravated sexual assault, and assault and criminal unlawful contact with a minor over a single weekend. So they caught 7. That's the amount that they caught.
Yeah.
Same day. Biden's deputies hunt for 50-plus migrants delivered by Islamic State-tied smugglers into the United States.
Yeah.
And these are the people that you want to keep the border open for? Oh, we're bringing in the best and the brightest of. They just need a better life. No, motherfucker, these people are bad people. Some of these have bad hombres. And Trump said that, and they went, oh, he's racist. Well, it turns out they were bad hombres.
Yeah, 100%. Bad hombres and terrorists. Like, by the way,
bad hombres.
And I think, because if you know that this is happening, I don't care, Christopher Wray and all these pieces of scum, him, Mayorkas, all of them, and you guys know how much I love Mayorkas. It's if you are knowingly letting them come in, then I think you're going to use them at some point to do something bad. And then that's when I think the people are going to flip. Because if the border's wide open and a huge terrorist attack happens, and then we realize, oh, where'd they come from? They came through the open border, then guess what? Mayorkas, Biden, Department of Homeland Security, all you mother effers are going to have a big problem on your hands because that's when the blood is not only going to be on your hands, it's going to be all over your fucking body because people are, dude, what are we talking about? If that was my daughter, let me explain something to you guys. If my daughter, I don't have any kids, if my daughter of 12 years old was taken advantage of under a bridge by 2 illegals and then she was murdered, you guys are never going to see me again. I'm going to be on some camouflage sniper I'm going John Wick, and I'm going after every single one of these people that are killing Americans because it's enough is enough, all right? And all of you that are sitting at home that are just, because I know we have liberal people that oh, you don't care about the people. Bullshit, because it's never happened to any of your kids, any of your cousins, any of your sisters, your brothers, your fathers, your mothers. And until it hits home, you guys are going to just keep talking shit out of your ass because you guys have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
People are going to take it into their own hands, too, because when they stop feeling safe, people take it into their own hands. So it's going to start being like neighborhood coalitions that start protecting themselves.
Well, that's the point. Yeah. Well, it's going to have to come to that. But anyway, all right, guys, we got to move on. My blood pressure's going up, and I said, sorry that I said the R word a couple times.
Once again, forehead veins.
Yeah. That's right. You guys see that thing. But, all right. So, all right. Rob Gargiulo, Hunter Biden, Russia, laptop, talk to me, pervert, the most untouchable crackhead on the planet.
Well, now it turns out not only is Hunter Biden, okay, the laptop clearly exists. Remember Russian disinformation? 51 intelligence officers say, no, bullshit doesn't exist. Russian disinformation. Turns out, it exists. We know that it exists because it was brought into evidence during Hunter Biden's drug. Here's the article from Politico. This is when the New York Post reported that they had the laptop. Then Politico, so the New York Times, New York Post reports that they have the laptop in their possession. Then the 51 intelligence officers release a statement stating it's Russian disinformation. The laptop doesn't exist. Then Politico then writes reports spreading that information, misinformation, telling people that it didn't exist by these 51
Look at all these people. By the way, those aren't
Traitors.
really dark people. Those are just people that they don't want to show their faces.
No, yeah, wow, really odd. Not one single minority among them.
Oh,
Isn't that
weird.
odd?
Just all white people.
It's a bunch of me.
Look at yeah.
versions of me.
By the way,
and Connor.
every single one of these people looks like a deep state, disgusting swamp creature. Look at the guy in the bottom right. Wise. Look at him. You look like a freaking bulldog.
Yeah, so these are the 51 traitors who lied and said the laptop didn't exist. Then it turns out the laptop clearly exists because it gets introduced as evidence in a federal gun trial of Hunter Biden. So the laptop exists. We know that it exists. We know that the 51 intelligence officers lied when they put the letter out. But then it comes out this week. Oh, we could show this. This is showing the character of the person that the 51 intelligence officers lied. They put their reputation on the line for that piece of shit.
Yeah.
Can you believe that? That's the guy that also happens to be on the board of Burisma, one of the largest privately owned natural gas companies in Ukraine. Well, his father was vice president.
Yeah, by the way, go back. Show this one, too. Show this. Rob, I walked in on Rob was looking at this today.
Well, because I'm trying to get into that kind of shape.
Yeah. Well, and then Humberto, go back.
This is an important point, actually, that I think is worth mentioning. Why is Hunter Biden in such good shape? Why is he actually a good-looking guy? This dude smoked crack for like 30 years every single day.
Well, that's
when you're on
adrenochrome.
crack.
That's adrenochrome. But no, Humberto, go back to that photo.
How is he in that good shape?
Go back to that photo. The other one, the crack one, and then let the okay, guys. This is the president of the United States' son. Okay, he's a crack smoking degenerate piece of shit that records himself with all these girls. Some of them allegedly they look underage. He's weighing crack. He's doing all this shit. He's on these boards of Burisma. He's making all this money. He's selling paintings for hundreds of thousands of dollars. If anybody ever talks shit about any of the Trump kids, you can go to hell. I'm not saying they're perfect. I don't even know them personally. I met Hunter. I met Don Jr. once, and I met Eric, and I met Ivanka. Is it Ivanka?
Yeah.
Guess what? No comparison to this piece of shit, and it all goes back to the father. Rob, take it.
Yeah, so it turns out that the people that put their reputation on the line to lie for Hunter Biden, it turns out, yes, they put their reputation on the line. It also turns out that 4 of them were paid contractors for the CIA at the time that the letter was written.
Shocker.
So the letter is designed by former acting director of the CIA, Michael Morrell. Michael Morrell was one of 4 former CIA intelligence officers that were currently paid contractors. And the paid contracting, when you're a paid contractor for the CIA, you're making between $90,000 and $100,000 a year. Not a lot of money. Not a lot of money, but it is $90,000, $100,000 of our tax dollars that could be going to something else. But we're actually going to pay to this guy, Michael Morrell, who then goes and creates this document with the 51 signatures in order to discredit Donald Trump during the debates from talking. The whole reason that he actually created this letter and he testified in front of Congress was to distract and help counter Donald Trump's talking point that Joe Biden was involved in Hunter Biden's foreign dealings. So the guy who writes this letter, who then gets 50 other people to sign off on it, was being paid by the CIA when the letter was fucking written. And nobody gives a shit.
Nobody
Isn't that crazy to you?
Yeah, you know why? Cut to it. What do you think about that, Josh? Cut to it on that thing. What you think, Josh?
I mean, it's the par for the course again. I mean, you're looking at a situation. Yeah, it's the president's son, but you know who the big guy is. So everybody get what CIA people, they are probably put under so much pressure that they have to throw away life, career, all these different things, or they can just sign right here. And it's a shame, but this has just got to happen more and get talked about more on bigger scales for it to finally stop.
But this guy is literally, guys, untouchable. Nothing ever happened.
Come on, guys, they are treating him fairly, though, because he was just convicted of a felony, which means he's being fairly investigated by the DOJ,
how much prison time? Yeah, how much prison time?
Yeah, but what about I mean, I don't know what the drug laws are, but I would assume smoking crack is against them. I've seen marijuana legal in a lot of states. I've never gone to Colorado and they went, you want to go to the crack store? It's legal for recreational use now.
If the libertarians win, we'll have that.
Yes, but it's not
until
right
then.
now. I also am pretty sure banging whores illegal unless you're in Nevada. So that laptop filled with evidence that also implicates Joe Biden and the 10% to the big man for the Chinese investment firm that Hunter Biden worked for before Burisma. So it's like, not only are they not untouchable, but it's also, pull up this evidence if you could, Humberto. These are declassified documents that are getting released that show these are 4 people that were they were all yes, no. Who was the no? Nick Rasmussen, no to Mark Palmer, and no to John Brennan. But Michael Morrell and David Buckley were both contracted with the CIA directly through October 19th of 2020 when the document came out. And by the way, when we talk about election interference, it doesn't always involve people with ballot boxes and in the middle of the night or mail-in ballots. No, election interference could be as simple as this document being signed by 51 intelligence officers. 79% of Americans, according to Pew Research, believe that had this come out, and it had been proven that it actually wasn't Russian disinformation when it came out and that it was authentic, 79% of Americans, almost 8 in 10 people, believe that Donald Trump would have won re-election in 2020. So you have your motive, you have your key players, you have your evidence, and yet nothing comes of it. But it literally changed the course of the 2020 election. Before we even get into the actual cheating, there was election interference, and nobody's doing shit about it.
Well, Rob, election interference is another cool way of saying cheating. When you have 51 FBI agents at Twitter at the time suppressing every story. Can you imagine that? They acted as a filtration system to not let anything hit Twitter, take down everything, make all these stories go away. If that's not cheating to the American public, that's another level of cheating, because guess what? The ballot harvesting, all that shit definitely happened. You know what I mean? All the news, all that fake shit. Trump was right about all of it. They cheated all the time. Dude, if you stop stories from, if you're an embezzler, all right, and I'm in charge of all the news and I don't let it happen and we're running for a race, that's cheating, bro. That's information that the public they have to know. And it's coming from the FBI. Wait a minute. You guys, Biden wasn't the president, right? Think about it. Biden was just running as an ex-vice president. How's the FBI working for him? Do you understand what I'm saying? The FBI was working for the Democratic Party because they want them to win. So that's why when I say the FBI's biased, and I have FBI agents going up to me, I don't know his name, I don't want to put him on blast, but there's an FBI agent that comes to these events. He's like, hey, man, like, dude, we're not all bad. I'm like, I understand, but where's the lot of you coming up and saying something? I'm not saying all of them are bad, but I want a gang. I want a gang. Like when Peter Strzok, that piece of shit, was during the Russian collusion thing. Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, Anthony McCabe, who's another scumbag dork with glasses. Where were all the supporting cast going, hey, guys, you can't do this shit. You fucking swore an oath, all of you. And if he's watching this, you swore an oath. If any of your colleagues were there and they witnessed it, shame on them. All right? That's not, by the way, we're not in I hate when people go, that's third to democracy. We're in a constitutional republic. Stop saying that shit.
And isn't it not like we're a democracy either? Like our Congress isn't having our back. And the whistleblower's lawyer from on Tucker Carlson just said that the FBI is now asking as a question, not to get security clearance, did you vote for Trump? Yes,
that's
or no?
For them to get in.
To get a security clearance. So if to get a security clearance, you have to say that you didn't vote for Trump.
And to your point about the FBI, okay, so the FBI was also somehow rooting for Democrats or leaning Democratic during the 2020 election. And now we clearly have evidence that the CIA was too. So when people question, is there a deep state? Well, how much more fucking evidence do you need?
Rob? How much deeper do you need to get?
And that's when you look at it and you go, and it actually doesn't take a whole lot of bad characters. It just takes really powerful bad characters in a few places to be able to control these narratives that then you have information being censored, you have election interference, so the only good thing is when you look at 2024, hopefully I'm not brainwashed. That's what I go back and forth with, because I see the too big to rig and I go, is it? Because I feel like it is. And I'm hoping that that's just not me being dumb and falling for more propaganda, because I've clearly fallen for it before. Challenger, 9/11, like Iraq, Patriot Act. I've fallen for it all. But now I'm seeing it. I'm going, okay, is it too big to rig? Is there any way that they could now Twitter's free. They can't censor those stories because Elon owns it. it seems like shit has fallen so bad in this country that the majority of Americans have woken up. I don't think that they can get away with it again in 2024.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But I think they're going to do something.
You really don't think that?
No, I think they're going to do
assholes are
something
gonna cheat again?
crazy. I think something crazy is going to happen before the election. But I don't know. I think that the whole deal they make with this stuff is that if you're controllable, you get the world and you'll never get in trouble like the Clintons and like Hunter. But if you buck against the system, then they come crashing down on you. So I mean, that's really the transaction that's made. It's as simple as that. Because I mean, there's a million things you could point to with either the Clintons or Obama or Biden that could easily put them in jail. But everybody looks the other way, and not only do they look the other way, they protect them. But Trump, they've turned over the earth to find the most minuscule thing on him to get him. And anybody like the MyPillow guy too. Anybody who goes against the system,
it's wild. But you know what though? I would never give up the stance and the point of view. And if God forbid anything happens to me, career or voice or band or I don't give a shit.
Yeah, you're selling your soul.
You're damn right. And how much if your price is not your life, James O'Keefe, then you are for sale. And I'll be damn, bro. I would rather die free than live as a slave. All right, guys.
Yeah.
So we have 2 more stories. Brandon and Connor, 10 minutes each. We got to wrap this shit up tight. Rob, great story.
Thank you.
Amazing. Now you make me want to hate them even more. So, Brandon, was General Patton murdered?
Yeah, so speaking of somebody who's uncontrollable, General Patton, if you look up the word man in the dictionary, you'll see a picture of this guy next to it.
Man?
Yes. Because this guy's as manly as it gets. So he was the savage in World War II and a shoo-in to be the president after World War II, because Eisenhower was kind of a pansy. And this guy was the guy who Hitler was afraid of. He's the guy who won all the important battles in World War II.
I love the word pansy, by the way. Yeah. He's just walking around like, okay, wars.
It's like Eisenhower's was that type of mindset. He was this guy's boss, and this guy kind of gave him a lot of anxiety. But he won all the important battles, and look at the popularity here of how he was received when he came back.
This is when Patton came back from where? From
World War II.
From Germany? Okay, go ahead.
On his return, Americans showed their gratitude.
Oh, shit.
In General Pershing's words, it didn't hurt America to have a general so bold that he was dangerous.
Looks like a Nazi outfit. Hugo Boss. Yeah. Hey, are you sure this is him and not Hitler's cousin or something?
Los Angeles went all out in its reception.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming over here,
dude, look at me.
There was a very great lesson.
Is that him?
Yeah.
The first 4 hours, we passed over a destroyed land. Utterly destroyed.
Utterly.
You who have not seen it do not know what hell looks like from the top. That's what Germany looks like. Wow. That Austria looks like. That's what any place that the 8th Air Force and the 3rd Army worked on looks like.
Wow, what a boss. Yeah, all right.
Go to the next one.
Go to the next one? Go to the next clip?
And so this Bill O'Reilly did a big time study on this one, and here he goes through the evidence.
Okay, go ahead.
You'd skip to 20 seconds.
Skip to 20 seconds, Humberto. Humberto's killing it over there, huh?
And it works.
So you said in the book that at first it was reported as a minor fender bender.
Yeah, the Army treated it as just an accident, a car accident, and the general was paralyzed. He went to the hospital. He never came out of the hospital. Mm-hmm. No autopsy. All the reporting, all the official documents surrounding the death disappeared. All the witnesses on the car that crashed into Patton disappeared.
What?
But the people on the scene, Bill, the people on the scene said the guy who was driving the other car was drunk, that you could smell the strong smell of alcohol.
But he was never taken in. He was never questioned. If he was drunk, why wasn't he arrested?
Wow, great point.
It's just terrible. The facts that we lay out, and we do call for a reopening of the investigation by the Justice Department today. All right, we want to know what killed this hero, and I certainly do not believe that this was an accident.
Wow, I never even knew that.
Me neither. I didn't know Bill O'Reilly was a conspiracy theorist either.
Yeah, right.
He's always with the official story.
He is official story.
Cars on the road. Where's the car turning into him? There's nothing there. We walked the road. It's insane.
There's several theories about this, and there's this interesting guy named Doug Bazada.
Yes.
Yeah. Tell us about him, because you, in fact, talk about what he said and claimed he had done.
Yes, he was an OSS agent, worked under Wild Bill Donovan.
And received many awards for his action.
And he was
OSS preceded the CIA.
Right, and he was decorated, and he was a hero in World War II. Donovan had a close relationship with Stalin and the Soviet apparatus. Patton didn't like the Russians. He wanted to fight the Russians, all right? Stalin didn't want to fight anymore because the Russian army was severely weakened after World War II.
So that's the essence of all this, is that so after World War II, you know, the next big threat was obviously Russia, and Patton was insisting that we had to keep going and crush Russia, crush Stalin and communism, because he knew it was going to be our biggest threat afterward. But and you know, like I said, he was a shoo-in to be the president, and they knew that if he became president, he was probably gonna, you know, charge ahead and try to crush Russia quickly and swiftly. But instead, you know, he mysteriously dies, and they let the Russia problem fester, and it turns into this 30-year Cold War situation, kind of reminiscent of what happened with NATO. So, you know, the collapse of the Soviet Union, we create this situation where we just keep creeping up to the border of Russia, you know, let them consolidate and gain strength again, and create like a situation where we're agitating them, and you know, create this prolonged situation now.
It's weird. It's weird too, because normally you would think like we're all war, and that's why all the problems are right now. It's because people like Trump don't want war, but they're like, come on. But you're saying that they want to prolong the war and have it go like
communism spread and turn into like the whole Cold, because like more money was spent in the Cold War than would have been spent to like take Russia out and within a year or two and take out the Stalin government.
Of course.
Yeah.
So it's all money making freaking.
And worse than that, so like we let communism grow and spread around the world because of this.
It's almost like a manufactured enemy. Just that we know that's never gonna really F with us because we're.
Well, we took out somebody like he was kind of like a Trump mindset back in the day, and it looks like they took that guy out to let the thing that they wanted to spread.
Oh, so it's so basically that's deep state shit, conspiracy swamp.
Yeah, because FDR was super communist. And he was dead by this time, but you know, he had filled the government with a bunch of communists as well. So there's a lot of belief that the people in government at that time were like more of the communist mindset than what we were actually trying to go for.
What do you think, Connor?
Well, think of the most anti-communist governments, excuse me, anti-communist governments that existed pre-World War II. Who were they? Wasn't the U.S. Wasn't England. It was Germany and Italy.
Yeah.
Where Italian fascism and the Nazi Party in Germany made communists like their number one enemy. I mentioned a while back that during the war, captured German officers and general enlisted men would describe how they were all under the impression that they were doing everything they were doing to fight Bolsheviks. That people had gone into Russia, caused the communist revolution, and then infiltrated Germany. And that was what caused the Weimar Republic to collapse. They went in thinking they were trying to drive out communists. The fascists in Italy were the same way. Like in a different time period, not during the war. General Franco in Spain was doing the same thing, fighting communist uprisings. So immediately after the war, you've taken out the biggest anti-communist forces in Europe, and the U.S. is a Russian ally. You know, we never really got along with them, but we were on the same page, at least in wanting to stop the Nazis from taking over Europe.
Right.
So that would have been the next conflict, like you're saying, and it makes perfect sense. But if in that intervening time, as we saw right after the war, all the communists have suddenly infiltrated the U.S. as well, where they would say, no, we don't want to go to war with the Russians. The Russians are our allies. We're gonna split Berlin with them and continue to hold the threat of lingering Nazism at bay.
Yeah, and the Korean War came after that too.
Exactly. Yeah. Every war since then has been dealing with the consequences of that.
What do you think, Just?
Yeah, and I think it's interesting too, because once we have those enemies, the boogeyman of Russia, and have this, that we have to, the Cold War, like you said, drag it out so they can make as much money. It's interesting then, because then it flipped into what? The war on terror, which there's no truly defined enemy.
Yeah.
It's just terror. Well, there's always terror. Yeah. Well, we killed bin Laden. Oh, well, there's a new group, ISIS.
Terror.
ISIL,
what a brilliant idea, huh?
You know, and then they can just keep recycling that and repackage it. And we've seen the evidence of them, you know, sending money to these terrorists and funding both sides of that conflict. So it's just the same story of the military-industrial complex.
And Bush, I'll never forget, Bush Jr. would call them terrorists.
Terrorists.
Not terrorists. Third of terror.
Fool me once.
Can I ask a question? We started the segment off with you stating that Eisenhower was a pansy.
Compared to Patton, yes.
Okay,
very much.
compared to Patton.
Yeah.
But he also did warn us about the military-industrial complex.
Yeah.
Well, he was
So
an
was-
educated
But if
pansy.
he was less of a pansy, he would have done something about it before he left.
Yeah, so but,
I just
hey,
wanted to see
so
where
he
you're
gave
at
us
on
that
that.
shit.
To be
And I
fair,
have
though,
my answer.
he had just come out of World War II, and it makes sense why
Don't
people were not
make
eager to
excuses
continue.
for pansies.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, have you seen a picture of how Eisenhower sat? It's very.
It's very like, hello.
There you go.
I'm here.
So,
Anyway, oh yeah, all right, Brendan, good. I love the word pansy. All right, moving on. Connor, Jamal Bowman, who just lost the
I will-
fire. If a fire alarm pushing, is that a felony? What is that?
well, I'll get
It's
into this.
supposed to be a felony, so he's a scot-free felon. Well, what happens? So he just
I'll
lost.
make it fast
Unconvicted
for us
felon.
because
Yeah,
I
make it
know
quick.
we're tight on time here.
Does
But
he got permits for those guns? Look at those arms. He's actually pretty jacked.
let me get to that point too. Late breaking news yesterday: New York Congressman Jamal Bowman lost his re-election, or his Democratic primary last night by a pretty significant margin to this gentleman right here.
By the way, George
This is George Vladimir.
Look at he has one eye on Bowman and one eye on the ceiling
You
fan.
ever see Happy Gilmore? He's the guy from Happy Gilmore. With the screw in the head.
Oh, man. Steve Buscemi.
No,
Steve Buscemi plays
Oh
the
yeah,
character.
yeah, crazy.
One eye on the future, one eye on the present.
Oh, my God,
exactly.
that's so
But he
freaking
just lost
funny.
to that guy. That guy is a centrist Democrat. He is now going to run against whatever Republican is propped up in that
he'll
district
lose
to
that
try
one.
to challenge, but there's no chance. So essentially, George Vladimir is the new Democratic congressman from New York.
Who got a lot of money from APAC, correct? Okay.
Let me,
Okay, let's
let me,
go,
let me
let's go, let's
speak
go. I
on
wanna
that.
hear this, go.
So Jamal Bowman is now the first member of the squad to lose his office.
Good for him.
All the other ones, AOC won her primary last night, so she's fine. Nobody's touching Tlaib. Nobody's touching Omar. Ayanna Pressley, Cori Bush, Hakeem Jeffries, they're all fine. But Bowman managed to lose. I wanted to show these quick clips from
Go ahead,
even though he's lost now, it's worth revisiting
right.
the disastrous campaign that led him to
This
this
is
thing.
cringe. By the way, and I hate the word, but this is cringe. Go.
This is when he got AOC
Look
to
at
come out.
look at how
campaign for it.
dude. Look at what. Watch.
This was in the South Bronx.
What is Cardinal doing?
The same place Trump
like waving.
Yeah, you're not a rapper.
And then next, just go to the one of
Look,
Bowman.
look.
Go to the one of Bowman.
This selection
He had
is
Bernie
one of the
Sanders
most
come out on
important
the
in the
He called
modern
his hair with a
history
balloon.
of
Now, he
America.
should have came out
He's
and done all
like,
that.
yes,
I would be impressed then if he danced like AOC.
And then we got the next one of Bowman.
Oh, okay. Dude,
Look at
Jack,
this.
Well, let me hear. I gotta hear this.
We're gonna show them who the fuck we
Oh,
are.
no wonder why he lost. Yeah, no wonder why he lost. Look at his gut. Look at his belt. Yeah, this is the congressman. Yo, who the fuck?
There's a very important point I need to make here. Members of Congress should not wear shorts.
Yeah.
You should never see a member of Congress wearing shorts.
Pause it.
I don't care how hot it is in New York when you're doing this.
No shorts. Connor, that's a great
only
point.
wear
That was
pants.
worse than AOC.
That was horrible. Yeah, that was horrible. Now,
So
what's the-
this was another clip that he put out from earlier in that same campaign where
It's like your skit.
it would seem as though he pulled the fire alarm and set off the emergency sprinklers
That's
wherever
so
he is.
funny.
No, he's standing in the rain to have his dramatic moment. As you can see, everyone else is under a tent.
Yeah, but he has no hair. Just let it go.
Yeah. But, you know, he lost. This whole thing was ridiculous. But if you go 2 videos ahead, Humberto, this one to cut to, or I'm sorry, the next one, real quick. One more. All right, there we go.
Oh my god.
This is a video he put out on his social media. Jamal Bowman is 48 years old.
Holy shit.
This is a video of him clean repping 405 bench press for three reps with actually good form.
Let me see.
And I hate to give credit to Democrats for doing things,
Let me see it.
but for a 48-year-old guy to be able to move that kind of weight,
I'm calling BS.
Holy shit, Brandon.
that's pretty impressive.
They're fake plates.
No,
Yes.
those are real.
You think
No,
so?
I mean, that's real.
No,
Or-
bro. He's not a
405?
good actor. He cleared that. No, that's real.
You asked where he got the guns
His legs
from.
are moving.
That's
That looks
it.
real.
Republicans need to be putting on masks in order to compete with their Democratic challengers here.
Yeah, he's strong as shit.
Well, he
But-
spend less time in the gym, more time in the
Exactly.
office, and
Yeah,
he'd
not
have a
wearing
job
shorts.
still.
So, you know, Jamal Bowman sucks. We all know about the incident where he pulled the fire alarm to try to block that vote from happening
Yep.
and then said, oh, no, I was just trying to open the door. I didn't know how a fire alarm worked.
Yeah.
So the guy is the most Democrat-y Democrat who has ever existed. He's with it on all the progressive narratives. So it's good to see him gone and replaced with some sort of ostensible centrist, I guess. Unless, of course, that centrist happens to be bought and paid for by foreign actors.
Oh, man.
Which is the other relevant point I need to get to, because George Latimer and Jamal Bowman in their competition is now the most expensive House primary election in U.S. history, because Bowman spent about $14 million advertising.
On shorts and T-shirts?
Bowman spent like $20 million plus. AIPAC, which is the America-Israel Public Affairs Committee. They're the group that advances the interests of the Israeli government in the United States.
Oh, they're everywhere.
Spent $14 million advertising against Jamal Bowman.
Against him.
Because Bowman is a
Sorry.
Because
Jamal,
shut it off. You're going to hide your ass.
I don't know why it won't stop. Sorry.
I just heard Rob, treasonous piece of...
I didn't mean that towards Jamal Bowman. Sorry.
Because Jamal Bowman is aggressively anti-Israel. He is pro-Palestine. He called the reports of people being raped and beheaded during the Hamas attacks, he called it propaganda. He said it was fake. He said it never happened. He apologized for that later, but he is fully on the side of Palestine, says Israel is occupying the territory and needs to be kicked out. So, of course, AIPAC backed him, or backed his challenger to get him out. And this is nothing new for AIPAC this cycle, because they also spent a ton of money trying to oust Thomas Massie in his district. That ultimately failed.
He's the same guy that went on Tucker and said that every representative of Congress has a AIPAC member.
Yes.
Handler, except for him.
He said, well, we'll have to call my AIPAC guy, is what they say.
Yeah.
Babysitter.
And Ben Shapiro goes like this: "It's not a handler.
It's just a lobbyist, which is just as bad.
It's a handler.
But it's a handler.
Up, Ben.
But the way they got Jamal Bowman out was AIPAC and a large group of local rabbis who hate Bowman for being anti-Israel, anti-Semitic, whatever. They went around and got a bunch of Republicans and independents to re-register as Democrats so they could vote in the primary against Bowman.
Oh, snap.
So they got pro-Israel independents and Republicans, two groups that generally are more pro-Israel, because a huge chunk of the Democratic base has moved pro-Palestine. So they got them all to change parties, because there's no chance the Republicans are going to win the district, so why not vote for the most pro-Israel Democrat you can find? So they led this huge thing to have people change parties and pick a new congressman. And
when you say they, who are they?
AIPAC.
Okay.
The America-Israel Public Affairs Committee. This organization with no ties to anything. Yeah, and so basically, they've been doing that. They did it against Thomas Massie. They spent a crap ton of money against Brandon Herrera in Texas, and ultimately beat him in a Republican primary a few weeks ago. So all around the country, as primaries come up, they are backing the most pro-Israel person.
Wow,
with obscene amounts of money.
So here's my question to you: when you say the other squad members, how is AIPAC not paying, giving the person they're running?
Well, AOC is a megastar,
yeah,
so how do you defeat
there's certain
that?
ones that are untouchable, like the core three: AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar. They're not going anywhere.
How are they untouchable?
Because Ilhan Omar's district is made up of Somali Muslims. Because they can't go there and say, "Hey, we need to switch you guys to whoever's pro-Israel." Very similar with Rashida Tlaib. And AOC is just untouchable because she's the face of all.
And Ilhan Omar is the one that allegedly married her brother.
Yes. For immigration fraud purposes.
Yeah,
no less.
I'm pretty sure he was like, "Hey."
Imagine go through all that, and then he could have came across the border illegally. And
I don't know why anybody does any of that bullshit. Just come to the border, you dumb bastard.
So
yeah, you're untouchable if you're popular enough. Like Thomas Massie made it through that. They tried to do the same thing to him.
Because he's also in a deep red district that's not.
But even Trump tried to go against him in 2020.
Yeah.
He still made it. So it's like if you're popular enough in your district, you could make it through almost.
And you remember that very famous incident where Massie and Bowman actually were fighting in
the hallway, and they kept
over gun control.
Yeah.
And Bowman was screaming like, "Kids are dying! You gotta regulate guns! You can't!" And it was this whole thing. Massie actually just tweeted this morning, "I'm gonna miss our friendly chats in the halls."
Nice.
So, in conclusion, Jamal Bowman is leaving. The squad is down a member. Good. But is that a good thing? That remains to be seen, because maybe we traded one terrible thing for another based on who's funding who.
We're going to find out.
We'll have to see on that one.
What do you think, Just?
I think that Thomas Massie is one of the only real people in Washington, D.C., and I think we should get rid of AIPAC.
In AIPAC...
Altogether.
Yeah.
Altogether. America first is America first, not accept Israel in front of America.
Yeah. Thomas Massie introduced a bill to have every member of AIPAC register as a foreign agent.
Oh, you know who else did that? Well, it was in a different organization, but Kennedy did the same thing in the 60s. He wanted, there was the largest Israeli lobbying firm in the United States. He made them register as foreign agents, and then he mysteriously got half his head shot off. Be careful, Thomas Massey.
All I'm saying is if the I in AIPAC stood for Italy, everyone would assume it was the mob. So
that's a great point.
Very, very good point. But
I got pizza.
All right, guys. Justin, thank you so much for being here. Yo, Justin, you want to look into that camera and tell everybody where they can find you and Instagram or X or?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, Justin_WeAreChange, and We Are Change Orlando on Rumble and YouTube.
Nice. And yeah, you guys want to do, what was the name of the YouTube video?
The film? Level With Me by Hibbler Productions is where you can see the astronaut.
Level With Me. And then guys in the chat, let me know, like, do you guys believe it? Do you guys think that it could be possible? We want to know. But that being said, guys, all of you, great freaking stories. Tomorrow night, what are we doing? The PBD podcast is doing the watching live debate.
Yes, a debate watch party.
Debate watch party on the PBD podcast. Rob will be there. We're all going to be there. Guys, I say this every week, but I don't care repeating it because I'm saying it from the heart. Love each other. Take care of each other. It's us against them, and don't let them distract us because we are the people and we have the power. Right, Rob? I'm being dead serious.
100%. I'm with
hand.
you. Yes.
Touch my hand.
Oh.
I love it. Guys, subscribe if you haven't. Tell a friend, and we will see you guys on Friday. Right?
Yeah.
All right. I'll see you guys. Peace and love.
Peace.